thanks so much for joining us today. I'm Carol Jenkins. The program is Black America, and today we have the great pleasure of talking with Herb Boyd, journalist, author of some 25 books, including the breathtaking and superbly reviewed Black Detroit, A People's History of Self-Determination. Thank you so much.
Carol.
I mean, I don't know when I've seen reviews like Black Detroit is pulling down. Congratulations.
I feel so absolutely blessed, you know, it's just so remarkable.
I know, as I was kidding you in the green room, you know, that it took 24 books before this.
Right. Overnight sensation.
You're an overnight sensation. Why do you think that is? It's hit a nerve with so many Americans. Why do you think that is?
I think one of the things about this, Carol, and getting all the kind of recognition and acclaim and praise, I think unwittingly,
yes,
some of these people don't know, but they're praising a lot of my surrogate fathers. The Dr. John Henry Clark, you know, Gordon Parks, and Ossie Davis, and Percy Ellis Sutton, all of those people who have been so strongly influential in my life, to say nothing of Malcolm X. I guess we'll get to that later on.
Sure.
But I think it has much to do with, you know, trying to honor and take care of some of those things that were omitted in the past. For some of these particular reviewers. That's not to take anything away from the strength of the book itself.
The glory and the honoring. The reason I laughed was that, you know, we've known each other on the streets reporting for so many years. You know.
Many years.
And now it's time for the praise.
You got to do the work.
Collect it, right, collect it all. We always start our program by asking a guest to place themselves in Black America.
Okay.
And you've written about it so eloquently in the book, but tell us where you would put yourself in Black America.
When and where I enter, as Paula Giddings said, you know, I think for me the real beginning from a literary standpoint would be James Baldwin. You know, although there's a film I saw, I think in 1948-49, called The Jackie Robinson Story.
Sure.
You know, because I always had this dream of being a baseball player.
Right.
Well, I had to tuck that one away and get on with the reality.
But you remember the Jackie Robinson film and seeing it as a small child. You must have been what?
Oh, yeah.
6?
I guess I was like, you know, 10 years old.
Oh, maybe, okay.
Yeah.
You're a little older than I thought you were.
Yeah.
But so 10 years old, and this has stayed in your mind all of this time as a resource for you, a generator of the work that you do? I
think the stuff that's really stuck for me has been the episodic moments. Those real, like for example, we talked earlier about, you know, when I'm 4 years of age and arrive in Detroit.
From Tuskegee, Alabama.
From down in Tuskegee.
Your mother and younger brother, and that was the first time you'd ever seen a train.
I'd seen a train, and it was just absolutely terrifying. The noise, the size of it, you know, because, you know, I'm coming out of a cotton patch, out of a peanut farm. And this is my first time being brought off that farm and into so-called modernization. And here's this huge behemoth of a train, you know. But after being coaxed onto it and enjoying the ride and everything at that time, particularly just looking out the window and watch all this stuff just fly by, the speed of it, you know, the power of it, all that was so absolutely entrancing. And it stuck with me all those years. So when I was asked to do the book, you have to understand that this was not exactly, you know, my plan. I have like a most talented team that works with me all the time, particularly my agent, Marie Brown.
Sure.
My wife, Elza. Right. You know, with them by my side,
You're pulling out all the great names, right?
I can't miss. I can't miss. And they've been absolutely indispensable.
Sure.
Over the years and all of the so-called 25 books that I put together.
Right. So you write about this very movingly, the going to Detroit as a 4-year-old and moving into the bottom, you know. So talk a little bit about that, what Detroit was like for you with a single mother arriving in Detroit with 2 boys in tow.
Well, the most exciting thing, Carol, was being reunited with my mother, because she had left my brother and me there with some cousins as she went on her reconnaissance, you know, looking at the lay of the land in Detroit.
Yes.
At this time, you're talking about 1943. So World War II is underway. And I remember seeing all of the soldiers and the sailors, you know, as we kind of moved up to Detroit from Alabama, particularly arriving at the train station. And that was fascinating right there because I knew nothing about World War II, but eventually I would gather a good understanding of that because my mother was very much, her native abilities, her skills were just extraordinarily, though she only had a 10th grade education, but she was, had this kind of knack of being in touch with a very, very fine sense of reality. And she imparted that to us. And so
that's
being with
Catherine
her
Brown,
was
Ms. Catherine Brown.
and Catherine Brown.
To you.
And people
Yeah.
who were the close read of the book, they can see just how absolutely indispensable and how she's integrated into the story because I think the book is part autobiography, part memoir, part biography, and certainly kind of a love letter to Detroit.
Right.
And all of these memories that you suggest, you know, they lived inside of me. So it was very easy to get this book done.
Well, I love the comparison to Howard Zinn, who, for those of you who don't know, who rewrote history from the people's point of view.
Yeah, right.
I mean, and that's what you've done for the black people of Detroit. You've
Yes.
rewritten a city's history with all of these black characters coming for the
brother.
first time to the fore. So it is just
And just
incredible.
scratching the surface.
I know. I'm
Just
sure there'll be
scratching the
volume
surface.
2 and more. But now your mom talking about you write about 3 centuries of Detroit. So, and
300
you
years.
trace the migrations from those who were escaping slavery and then those who were escaping Jim Crow, at which your mom was in that category. And
Certainly.
and then during World War II, she got to work in the factory there.
Exactly.
That's what most people know about Detroit, the cars. You know,
Right.
These glossy cars coming out. But here during World War II, she
There
was
she
able to
is.
earn a living.
But one of the things about that is when most people identify Detroit, they say the first 2 things out of their mouth is Motown,
Right.
the recording
Well,
company.
I've only been to Detroit once, and you know what my first stop was? Motown. And then the other was the Charles White Museum,
Oh yeah.
which is sensational. The Civil Rights Museum, the Black History Museum,
exactly.
terrific in
Yeah.
Detroit. But anyway,
Yeah, that's
Yes.
but see. So the
but it
first
was
thing,
number 2 after Motown.
Number 2, it'd be the automobile industry.
Right.
And in a way, the two are just inseparably connected. Berry Gordy, who worked at the Ford Motor Company and got his old concept and idea of production because he worked on the assembly line. So he took that same method of manufacturing and superimposed it over this music enterprise that he had.
Diana Ross and the Supremes.
Oh, yeah, you
Smokey
know.
Robinson. You live across the
well, Smokey
across
was
the
just-
hall from
yeah.
or down the hall from Smokey Robinson.
I grew up. I grew up with all of those folks. It's just simply. I happened to be my mother, in her intrepid way, moving from one part of the community to another, and I lived all over Detroit, and consequently, you know, meeting all these individuals, it was just like the kind of serendipity or the synchronicity of that was just amazing. The coincidence of being in the Jeffries projects right across the hall from Smokey Robinson's cousins. So I had I was an ear witness, you know, to the whole development of some of those songs that later on became very popular.
So it's hard to believe, but it's 50 years since the riots
Yes.
in Detroit. There was rioting before that, what, in the 1860s, the
Oh yeah, just every
1943.
Every generation we've had one, beginning in 1833, 1863, 1943, and of course you're talking about the 1967 riot or rebellion, as we call
And
it.
that's what many people think of when they think of Detroit, even though it was 50 years ago. It was so incredible. I don't know, there were 33 black people killed, 10 white people, 7,000 people arrested, 1,400 buildings burned to the ground. Detroit was demolished. We have a short clip. Let's look at that, and
Okay,
we'll talk
good.
about it on the
Sure.
other side.
Climb over. Will the fire department get here shortly? They'll try. Hopefully they'll succeed because next to this block of buildings is now burning a gasoline station. Will the department get a truck here? Hopefully. because that block of buildings is gone, and next to it a gas station, and behind it homes, people.
It's 20 minutes after 5. What are you doing up tonight?
Nothing. I'm about to go to my auntie's house now and stay for a little while till we get someplace else to live.
What do you mean, someplace else to live?
Rent someplace else.
Where is your house?
It was over there, but it's down now.
How come?
Well, it got burned up. Eli has this store, hardware store, caught on to my house and just burned them all down.
Do you have any idea how the fire started?
Don't have no ideas at all.
So, what was so wonderful about this documentary, I watched it last night, is that it's just a stream of that kind of pictures, interviews, you know, no narration. It just tells the complete story of what happened. What happened, Herb? What started that?
Well, I capture a lot of that in the book, obviously.
Sure.
It's a story that is one of these major milestones, episodes, events in the city's history, and a calamitous one, as you suggest. The numbers tell part of the story. I arrived in Detroit, interestingly enough, like a couple of months before the 1943 riot.
Sure.
So that was like, hello, I was an introduction to Detroit.
So as a child, you saw that.
Exactly.
And this one, I mean, there is the. Let's play this clip and then we can talk about both of them. Catherine Bigelow had introduced a movie, a feature called Detroit, very controversial. Let's take a look at this clip and we'll talk about both of them on the other end.
Here in Detroit, a city of war, violence continues.
We've made state police and National Guardsmen available.
I'm declaring a public state of emergency.
It's a war zone out there. They're destroying the city.
Police! I'm just going to assume you're all criminals.
You don't talk about this to anyone ever.
They're kids. What's the matter with you?
They're gonna kill us, man. I need you to survive the night. Survive the night.
Melvin, you want to go home?
Yeah.
What happened at the motel?
So, did Catherine Bigelow ever? Did she get something wrong, something right? What was your reaction when you saw this film?
Well, like I was saying earlier, in terms of the 1943 riot, which of course was a race riot, 67 was a little bit different. It was like a rebellion. You know, it was not so much any kind of racial intensity or hostility there. It was the people, like, you know, outraged with police brutality, and I think she does a good job of capturing the kind of brutality, this kind of almost savage intensity coming from these police officers that killed the 3 black men there at the Algiers Motel. And that's a central part of her story. However, this is just one element, you know, the overall rebellion. And I think that instead of maybe going to the trial, the subsequent trial of these 3 police officers, for us was a far-gone conclusion that they were going to be acquitted. I thought she could have captured some black agency and self-determination, self-reliance, or the people organized by focusing on the People's Tribunal that came right after that, in which that was our response, the community's response, because we knew those cops are going to walk, so hey, we're going to put them on trial ourselves. And that's what the tribunal was all about.
You know, all this sounds so, unfortunately, familiar, right, with what's going on even today. But you talk about, in the book, the leaders, and you had your first black mayor, Coleman Young.
Sure.
Talk a little bit about him, because that was extraordinary. I was just starting in the news then as we began to see black people taking over the mayorships in inner cities.
He was a phenomenal individual. He got his credentials and earned his birthright coming through the whole labor movement. And by 1964, he was in elected office. And then 10 years later, in 1973-74, he becomes the city's first black mayor. And Carol, he's there for 20 years, from
I know,
74 to 94.
Didn't Detroit just get its first white mayor recently after all of that, from that time
Exactly,
to this, right?
So it was kind of breakthrough with him.
So there was absolutely leadership, and that's the fault you find with the film, is that this agency, this leadership is not.
Exactly.
And well, this was one of the first riots where the story was that black people had burned down their own homes. Is that your perception of what happened? There really it was no place for the black community to live after that.
A lot of that was like, it's kind of the incident itself, and it's a spark, right? And for example, I stood on the corner and watched a whole block kind of wiped out, because the gas station on the corner, somebody threw a Molotov cocktail there.
Right, I saw that.
And the gas station exploded,
right.
And then you had kind of a domino effect, one house after another. I was thinking about the whole MOVE incident in Philadelphia, and how if one house catches on fire and they're so close together, and the fire just jumped right down the street. In the end, 9 homes were just wiped out like that. Right. So it was not so, some of that was like kind of accidental,
sure.
Somebody
it's
expressing their outrage,
right.
Throwing a Molotov cocktail at a gas station, not realizing the consequence of that,
right.
So but a lot of that, the stores absolutely were vandalized. You had the kind of, people absolutely disgusted with so much. But much of it was police brutality.
Right, police brutality. But there's also, you write about this, it's the issue of housing. And there are two companion books to yours, The Color of Law and Evicted, that are out now and talk about the centrality of home. And if you don't have that, you don't have anything.
Right.
And so, there were concentrated efforts by the U.S. government to displace black people in Detroit by building highways, the old story.
Oh, brother,
we're going to put in a super highway here, and when we're finished, you can come live here. And of course, you never see them again.
Well, housing has always been a critical issue connected with employment, education, the whole infrastructure development of the city itself. But when you go back to the housing thing, of course, that's kind of like an ongoing problem in the city. If you go back to World War I and look at the influx, this migration of these blues people from Alabama, and principally from Alabama and Mississippi, because there's a straight line migration right to Detroit. But at that time, Henry Ford had made that offer of $5 a day. And that was just a phenomenal offer compared to what these sharecroppers in the South was making in a whole year.
Right.
So you can see this here large influx, of migrants who arrive in Detroit, and it created a housing problem right away. What are you going to do with them, And at that time, we had some outstanding social thinkers, John Dancy and Forster B. Washington, and they were kind of like the progenitors, of the whole National Urban League,
right?
The social welfare agency that steps in to provide from these here new arrivals who are like, I got to make this adjustment, this adaptation to a whole new environment, and not having the sufficient housing. So they stepped in there to deal with the housing question, other social welfare issues in terms of feeding them and medical care, to say nothing of job opportunities.
I know,
so all these came together.
Daniel Patrick Moynihan was there as well, commenting on what he thought. But the one thing, there were some unfortunate things that he said and did, but the one positive thing that he said was none of this gets fixed until the employment picture gets fixed, until people can afford housing.
Yes.
And therefore good schools. And so it's this, reverberation throughout history.
Oh my goodness.
So it was seeing.
Yeah. See, what I think you have to understand is that Detroit is kind of emblematic, of the African American experience in America. What happened to us in Detroit, not at all unique when you compare like black people particularly in other urban areas of the country. And I think that's what I try to do with Black Detroit, is show this kind of, experience that we had there. And We had our Berry Gordy, sure. We had our Coleman Young, our Joe Lewis, you know. We had the outstanding, you know, athletes and entrepreneurs and politicians
Even
there.
Rosa Parks.
Yeah, we
Malcolm
had a Rosa
X.
Parks. We kind of like
Right.
kind of adopted her,
Right,
but she had family in Detroit.
Right,
That's why when she had to flee from Alabama, and just what a remarkable. I had an opportunity. I have a great photo in the book. You know, her standing there when my daughter is reading to Alex Haley from a book that the students pulled together in honor of Mr.
That's a
Haley.
keeper. That's a
Oh
good
yeah,
photograph.
I was so surprised to see that they used that particular photo in the New York Times review, and where
the rave review.
Oh, I mean Thomas Segru, and I mean just an outstanding urbanologist. For him
historian, right? And he was just
seal of approval. That was great. Mm-hmm.
Right, right. Mm-hmm. So, where are you going next with your work? Detroit, and I agree with you that it is emblematic of most inner cities, and that's why,
no doubt.
you know, why it's so interesting, the story you tell about the people that no one else knows about and would not know about unless you wrote their stories.
Yeah. I try my best to find a lot of the unheralded heroes and heroines, you know, in the city's history. Obviously, you know, when you start that kind of process, you leave some people out. However, I hope that the ones that I do recognize, it kind of ramifies and they can touch on other folks. And so when they get into the book, maybe a particular issue or circumstance or incident will remind them, particularly if they're former Detroiters, they're just going to be absolutely just amazed at some of the stories that many of them recall these incidents and stories, so it kind of refreshed their memory.
Sure, sure. But let's talk about, as we're coming to the close, I can't believe, you told me that one of your book TV shows was 3 hours long. I can understand, I can understand why.
Right.
About Detroit today. Interesting statistics about the unemployment rate. What, 2009, I think it was almost 30%, and now it's only 8%.
Oh,
but there must be more to that than,
right.
You know, where are we in that scenario?
I think some of the numbers there, and of course, when you play the numbers game, you know, over the years in the city's history, it kind of it's kind of a momentary index of what's happening because it's a very fluid and dynamic situation there. I was recently there, and I go back and forth to Detroit quite a bit and trying to get the pulse of things, and particularly with some of the community leaders and activists. And there's some signs, you know, I'm an optimist on this. And so I see some signs of absolute development there, some renewal, some rejuvenation. Detroit has always had that ability, particularly the African-American community, which is kind of like the motive engine of the whole city, and met with all the challenges and circumstances, be it unemployment, be the housing crisis, to say nothing to foreclosure stuff, or gentrification, what have you.
I think that's where that 28%.
Or the bankruptcy.
During the middle of all of that, but a third of the city was unemployed.
Yes. They find a way to come back. That's what the book, the subtitle, Self-Determination, the whole history of that.
So, but this number, is it the result of Black people leaving Detroit, inner city Detroit, or how do we get to this 8%?
Well, I think much of it has to do with the fact deindustrialization, you know, the manufacturing base, and, you know, people got to get some jobs, so the base is not there anymore. And the white flight, as we talk about in the book, that had been occurring all the way back. You know, you can go back to 1943 in particular, when there was a great, heavy outflow of people into the suburbs of the city. So that's going to be one of the impacts that it has on the economic aspects, because the revenue base shrinks. And the manufacturing's gone, the deindustrialization set in, the depopulation sets in, then the whole financial thing goes into decline. So how do you repair that with a riot breaking out? That adds and compounds, it exacerbates the situation. Then you have the kind of mismanagement and corruption coming from various community activists, leaders, what have you.
Sure, sure. But are the people of Detroit as optimistic as you are?
I think so.
Because you're talking about black flight in a way, right?
Yeah.
There are no jobs in Detroit, so.
Yeah. Well, the thing about it is that you got the city at large now, you know, so much of the suburbs, people living in Bloomfield Hills or Grosse Pointe Woods or out in Southfield, they're still a part and connected to that city. They have to get in a car maybe and drive several miles, but they're working in the city in some way. So that's a hopeful sign with the return of the whole technology industry. If they're kind of settling in there, led by Dan Gilbert and the whole Quicken and the buildings he's acquired there, and tried to renovate, refurbish, and open it up for offices, you know, to occur there. So I think that's a hopeful sign. The urban farming that's going on there, that's a phenomenal development. I'd like to see that expand.
Right.
Of course, the downtown development, if you go there and don't go to the outer city, you can see a flourishing community. And Midtown, too, is picking up.
Well, you know, Detroit is very lucky to have you as their champion.
Yes. I'm a cheerleader.
A cheerleader, as an optimistic and told the story so well. Whenever we're closing with a guest, we ask them to finish the statement: the power, the strength of Black America lies in. What's that for you?
It lies in some of the things we've been talking about in terms of having a solid memory, not have any kind of amnesia about the past, and understanding that you overcome once, you could overcome again. Dr. John Henry Clark taught me that in the classroom and in our association. If you did it once, you can do it again.
And it seems as if we keep doing it.
I know it.
And then we have to keep doing.
Yeah, right.
That's the sad part of it all. But
Exactly.
I am your enthusiasm and optimism is.
Well, that comes from my connection with Malcolm X. You know, Malcolm, you know, influenced my life, inspired my writing, and has nourished my sense of self-determination.
Well, terrific. That's a very noble inspiration. Herb Boyd,
Indeed.
Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Carol.
Thank you for the book, and thank you for spending some time
it's a
with
pleasure.
us. Sorry it's not 3 hours, but the next time. And thanks to you all out there, too, for joining us. The book is called Black Detroit, A People's Determination to Succeed, to Endure.
Indeed.
I'm Carol Jenkins. The program is Black America. We'll see you the next time.